my name is Aleksandra, and I'm one of the founders of Interarts, an organization that creates and organizes events oscillating around the ideas of sustainability, cruelty-free, and conscious fashion. Today I will talk with the Hapticians, Mari and Aleksander, fashion designers who use digital 3D product development, and they merge it with local production. Standard way of creation for fashion designers is to get an idea, to put it on sketches, and then produce clothes in a factory, or some designers sew themselves. And I'm wondering, what is the difference between this standard process and this what you use in your way of creation? And what does digital 3D product creation really mean?
Maybe one of the main differences between what we do and the traditional way of producing clothes is that by utilizing 3D technology, we are able to gauge interest for a product before we even start production of said product. So we minimize the economic risk and the production risk of our products by using 3D models of the products to gauge the interest beforehand. That's one of the main differences between the traditional way of producing, where you do a full sampling and even sometimes also a full production of a product before it reaches the stores and the customer.
Absolutely, it's the future. We have no choice.
Do you use other sustainable strategies in your work?
So what we are experimenting with the Haptician, are going to experiment with as well, is what this 3D production allows us to do in regards to creating designs that can impact people's lives in a way that makes them keep the garments for longer and grow attached to their garments in a different way. So there's also a strategy of making people more attached to the things that they buy.
Yeah.
And that's also one of
for a dialogue. Sorry.
Yeah. No.
We can open a dialogue with the customer as well, so we can actually engage them in the process of designing and altering and adjusting the garments.
How do you work with them? They come with a certain idea and they say like, oh, I would like to have that kind of dress, and you are just creating it.
We're designers at core, so we need to have that creative advantage to actually design the clothes ourselves, and then engage the customer from that point. But it also depends, because if we're talking about, we have individual customers, but we also have companies. So currently we're working with companies and making their designs, and then we work from references, or like a mood board, or the traditional way of expressing ideas before it's anything. But for individual customers, we would have a starting point that would be our design, and we would customize that to a certain degree. That's possible. Mm-hmm.
From our previous conversations, I know that you put emphasis on local production. So I would like to know where exactly you design and where do you produce your clothes?
We're both craftsmen, so we're both tailors, like that's what we do on our backs. So I have a studio here, so I do all my sewing here, and Aleksander does it. We had a studio together, but after Corona and COVID came, we separated, and now we have our own studios. So that's what we do, and then we work
in Fredrikstad, yes, and Aleksander, you are in Oslo, right?
Yes, I'm in Oslo.
Yeah.
I'm currently working from home, Extreme Edition. So everything I do, if it's sewing or designing, it's from either my bedroom or my living room. So yeah.
Yeah, and I work with different artists, or different local people here outside of on the countryside. There's lots of workshops, so yeah, we communicate well and work together. So.
What your process of designing clothes looks like?
I think we have two different ways or different approaches, so that's kind of interesting. I always start with the body. So for me, like the landscape of the body is my canvas. So I get really inspired from just shapes and forms and the challenge of making something fit. And then I move towards the material. And then I kind of merge these two and then use my craft to create the shapes. Yeah, that's kind of how I work. I work really hands-on. That's my best tool. But now that we have Clo, it's really good for me because I know how to I'm comfortable with the construction of patterns. So I usually drape on my on my lady here, and then I convert it into Clo with construction, and then I can alter and adjust and continue the design process in there. So
and how much time does it take for you, like approximately? Is it a long process? Or?
Yeah, that really depends. If the idea or the order is really, really clear and very like classic in kind of a way, then and the communication is really clear, it doesn't take that much time. It depends. And it depends if it comes from my archive or not, if I'm kind of, because I'm really into not making new things all the time. So I like having my archive and kind of working with that and adjusting it. So it depends, but it can take a long time as well. Like making a wedding dress is like, oh my gosh, it's a process.
Work, yeah.
So it depends on the garment and the customer and the order and
Well, my approach is quite different. Since I have limited space, I try to work as much as I can in Clo. But when I start off, I usually start off with a vision of a shape or a silhouette and a thought of weight and draping, like how I want it to feel in the weight of it. And that usually guides my process when I work. I usually work with large volumes of textile at the time, and then I shape it down into something which communicates that feeling and that shape that I'm trying to create. I usually draw upon references, classic references, to make things more, how could I put this in a way that's kind? Make it, what's it called? Recognizable? Because I like to work with shapes that are quite alien or big or voluminous. Yeah. So I merge those shapes with things that are recognizable to make it come across as clothes in a way. But yeah, I predominantly work in the Clo, and then I take the patterns out of Clo and then I test them, which is kind of the reverse way of Mari's process, which is good because then we balance each other's out.
Yeah, exactly. But what are your fabric choices? Because you were saying about fabrics, and I'm wondering what kind of textiles do you use for your outfits?
It really depends. Lately, I've been really interested in jerseys and the type of material used for bedding, which is a high thread count cotton, because it drapes in a way that I found really fascinating. So I really bounce around between different textile types. It all depends on what I want to explore with the weight and the drape.
We work on sustainable events, and we are very interested in sustainable fashion, and I can see that it's not that large as well, or maybe not popular yet. This is what we feel, but I don't know, maybe you have a different feeling about it, and I would like to know.
in regards to the sustainability on the fashion market in Norway, I think maybe, as you say, that we don't have that depth in our history in fashion in Norway and our kind of identity. And I think maybe we have some sort of privileged identity in our fashion market in Norway, and that kind of results in the fact that we don't engage as much in the larger questions. Also like to like pull forward the really old brands, which is like oh, now I lose them. Men Oleana and like the knit factories, they do a really, really good job, and they have lots of history, and they're moving towards the future as well. So, but I don't think they get enough credit, or they're not pushed, like we don't use them as much as we could in regards to actually market the Norwegian fashion.
Challenging thing about the Norwegian market and the Norwegian culture around fashion is that there hasn't been any until recently, like the last 15 years and maybe just the last 10. But even though that's a challenge, that's also a great opportunity, because when we're looking abroad to other fashion nations and the global fashion picture, we can see that this sustainability is creating an upheaval in traditional fashion industries and fashion cultures, because they have to change to adapt. Whereas in Norway, we have the opportunity to create something from the bottom. Like, we don't have a system that needs replacing. We have an opening for a new system. Exactly. We don't have a culture that needs to be changed. We have a culture that needs to be created, which is the major advantage of working here, in my opinion. So we do have great brands that kind of have flown under the radar for a long time, which can really benefit from this sustainable focus. Like Mavi said, like Oleana, which is a family business that has been working with wool and silks for a very long time and have a super loyal customer group, and are now changing their ways of designing to meet a more modern demand. So there is a lot of untapped potential in Norway when it comes to sustainable thinking, in my opinion.
Yes, in that sense, it's a good thing that we are privileged as well, because we do have the resources to actually now create that culture, yes, which is the future. So, and we've been working a lot with Chloe, and in teaching and in kind of mentoring other brands, and they're really, really on the go. So we just have to see like what the market, like how the market is growing and how they adapt. And yeah, I think there's a lot of potential as well in regards to the digital as well, as we are.
Yeah, I feel that in upcoming years, this trend of sustainability and eco-friendly approach can really adapt in generally in Scandinavia and Norway. Yeah,
we are also really small, like in a beneficial way as well. So we have kind of the opportunities to work together in a really good way. So like for my sake, as you mentioned earlier, like materials, like just having like materials to share, like we can share our archives, we can share our kind of leftover fabrics, and that's a really, yeah, that's like a lot of potential
approach. Yeah. All right, and I also know that you are interested in digital fashion shows, and if you can tell us, how do you create them, and do you think that they are more sustainable than standard physical ones?
What digital fashion shows do is that they remove a lot of the cost and the people involved with creating a fashion show. So you don't have to fly in people, you don't have to have a stage manager, everything can be done on a computer by a team of 1 to 2 people. It is maybe sustainable in the way that it removes a lot of emissions and transporting people and having people crowded in a place and stuff like that, but it also has the potential to take away jobs.
Yes.
So there's an equation there that's kind of difficult to answer, because is it sustainable to take away jobs um, if you're creating something that is for sustainability's sake? Like, what is sustainability in that question?
I also think it's really important what you say, that all the people disappear from the event, you know, like the experience of it, the magic of like being together in a social.
It's physical contact with people, yeah.
Yeah,
Here.
yeah.
But these times, Corona times, it's something that helps designers, right? And
Of course, I think it's a good alternative platform. It
Mhm.
makes it broadens our it broadens our world, where we can show our creations and can show them in different environments. We can move into other other like animation. We can move into gaming. We can move into more of an art scene in the digital world. Like it just opened doors, I think, and it makes us more accessible.
You have to style a model, you have to animate a figure. So it's the standard, like you need a stylist, you need a choreographer. It's just that all those roles are baked into one person instead of being different people with different fields and using the same tool.
The guy we work with for animation, he was like, we could hire someone for lighting, for camera perspective. Like you could hire the whole team that you would in real life, you know, but you can also just do it with one person. So you have a lot of more flexibility in towards, time and money and resources. So yeah, and that's fun, I think.
yeah, but honestly, I'm kind of fan of digital fashion shows. We watched with the other girls from Interarts one or two, and they looked like really amazing. I don't think that they can replace physical fashion shows, but it's also something new and very interesting to watch.
Yeah, and I don't think it should either. Like it's
no, definitely not.
show is it should always it's really nice.
Different atmosphere, different feeling. Yeah, I agree. Okay, one almost last question. How do you imagine the future in designing clothes in your perfect world? A lot of tricky questions.
Yeah.
You're kind of in your master's degree, aren't you, Aleksander? Do you have any?
Yeah, I can go first. Well, my vision for the future. I'm just kidding. But the potential that I see in Clo, and that we as the Hapticians see in Clo, is that it's going to shake up a few of the systems that exist. In regards to the way we produce, in regards to the way we design and present and approach clothing. So in my perfect world, as a designer, you can create anything and have an economical, sustainable business, because you are freed from having to water down your designs to become commercial. You can hone your craft and your art and your design and present it in a way that has no economic risk, and reach the people who are actually interested in wearing your creations. So it's in my future, there are a lot more designers creating for people and not creating and then selling to people, if that makes sense. So we are producing less but more specified towards someone, instead of producing something and then trying to find a customer. That is my vision for the future. And also a tighter connection between the consumer or the user and the designer, building communities around designers and their creativity, I guess. So yeah, being more attached.
We're basically trying to reduce or even get rid of overproduction.
Yeah, that's what we have to do. Like,
Yes.
overproduction is the core of one of the many problems that the fashion industry faces, and overproduction is preventable, in my opinion. It is 100% preventable. So that is the future.
Yeah. Mari, do you agree?
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, and behind like overproduction, we like where we are now at the starting point is to eliminate all the unnecessary sample production, because that's like 50% of the waste that we have in our business. So, and that's absolutely doable with a digital process like with Clo. So yeah, absolutely. That's why we're kind of like, it's the future, like punctum. But yeah, I totally agree.
So I hope the future will look like you described. So we are coming to the end, and the last question maybe for people who are interested in contacting you, where can we find you on social media? Do you have Instagram or Facebook or your website?
So we are on Instagram. You can find us at _Hapticians, and we are also on Facebook under The Hapticians. And if you want to visit our website and get in contact with us via email, you can go to thehapticians.com.
Or just send an email to smile@thehapticians.com.
That you could do too.
Okay, thank you guys for a really interesting interview. I hope that we can meet one day in person soon. Yes, and thank you so much. Yes.
You.
Thank you.